6 weeks ago, I cancelled my wedding. Not postponed it. Cancelled it. Because the person I was supposed to marry cheated on me. He betrayed me, on our cusp of forever. And here's the part that still makes people angry when I tell this story. I turned what should have been my wedding reception into a Mario Kart tournament. Some people say that makes me petty. Some say it makes me heartless. Some say I ruined someone else's perfect day. But there's a detail, one key fact, that completely changes whether I'm the villain or not. I'll tell you that part at the very end. The sent best point first, trust builder. Let me jump to the moment everyone argues about. It started with an email. The venue manager reached out, his tone a little too familiar, a little too eager. He said another couple was desperate for our date, a real last-minute sob story. He wanted me to release the date so they could rent it to someone else. The implication was clear. They wanted to get paid twice for the same Saturday in June. I was still reeling from everything, but I wasn't a fool. I had paid a non-refundable deposit, a substantial one. But this was different. They were asking me for a favor. So I replied. I said yes, if they gave me any refund. Not even the whole amount. Just a gesture of goodwill for the thousands of dollars I was about to lose. It seemed more than fair. The reply came back in under 5 minutes. It was a single word. No. No explanation. No counteroffer. Just no. And in that moment, something shifted. It wasn't about the money anymore. It was about the cold, dismissive way they thought they could just take what was mine. So I kept the date. It was paid for. It was mine. And I used it. I sent out a new invitation. No dress code, no registry. Just a simple request. Bring your A game. And instead of champagne toasts and first dances, instead of tearful speeches and a string quartet, there were grown adults screaming at a giant screen because someone stole their mushroom in Mario Kart. It was chaotic and loud, and for the first time in months, I felt something that wasn't grief. It felt like winning. But here's where it gets strange. This wasn't revenge. It was survival. Context. The break. I found out about the cheating 6 weeks before the wedding. No dramatic confrontation, no movie scene confession. Just that quiet, soul vacuum moment where your entire future dissolves in your hands. I called off the wedding immediately. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I was still in shock. Sorry to be so matter-of-fact about it, but that's where I still am. Most people miss this next part. Canceling a wedding isn't just emotional. The financial damage. The first few days were a blur of logistics. A strange, methodical process of dismantling a life we had planned block by block. I started with the easy calls, steeling myself for the financial hit. I went down the list, my finger tracing each name. First, the photographer. He was kind, almost apologetic. He kept the $200 deposit, which felt more than fair for his time. A small price for a clean break. The church was next. They were a blessing. Since we were members, there was no charge to begin with, and no cancellation fee. Their kindness was a brief, unexpected warmth in the cold. Then came the reception hall. We'd paid in full. Since no alcohol was allowed at the church, we'd booked this separate venue. It was the biggest expense, the one I was dreading most. The manager's voice was brisk, almost eager. He reminded me of their strict policy, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. No refunds without 3 months' notice, he recited, like a line he'd said 1,000 times. I had given them 6 weeks. I knew it was a long shot, but I asked if they could rebook the date, maybe offer a partial refund then. He just said, "That won't be possible." Something felt off. It wasn't just business. It was final. They kept everything, every last cent. And yes, I was pissed. But here's where it gets complicated. I wasn't asking for everything back. What I thought was fair. I would have accepted them keeping 30%. That's standard. But they kept 100%. Thousands of dollars for an event that no longer existed. After everything that had happened, after the silence, I thought it was over. But they still wanted something from me. An email landed in my inbox, the venue's name a cold knot in my stomach. I almost didn't open it. The request. The manager, in language that was a little too casual, a little too friendly, asked if I would be willing to release the date. What he meant was, he wanted my permission to book another event on the day that was supposed to have been mine. Let them get paid all over again. And the incentive for me? I could keep the money I'd already paid, the full, non-refundable deposit. It sounded generous, too generous. Most people hear that and think it's a win-win. But a little alarm bell was ringing in my head. This isn't standard policy. It's not a kindness. It's called double-dipping. It's predatory. And it felt like the first loose thread on something that was about to completely unravel. My gut was screaming. So I said no. Enter. My brother. I was spiraling, sad, angry, numb. And my brother said something so stupid it saved me. What if we just used it? Not a wedding, not a pity party, a Mario Kart tournament. Big screen, 20 and 30-something idiots playing a children's game for bragging rights. But here is where it gets strange, for the first time in weeks. The party that shouldn't have existed. We did it. Controllers everywhere. No formal clothes. And somehow, not married, not broken, just alive. But wait, because this is where the controversy starts. The money split. I sent my ex her share of every refundable deposit. Photographer, anything partial. I didn't send her money for the venue, because there was none. She hasn't contacted me, which honestly tells me everything I need to know. But here is where people turn on me. The accusations word got around. People started saying, you screwed over the venue. You took money from their staff. You blocked another couple from having a beautiful wedding. Some even said I should have just walked away and eaten the cost. Here's the thing, and I don't owe hypothetical strangers my grief. The staff argument. Let's talk about the staff. Catering was booked separately. We didn't trash the place. No alcohol. The venue didn't lose money. They just didn't get extra money. Most people miss this next part. Losing a chance to profit isn't the same as being harmed. The moral question. So let's ask the real question. Was I obligated, morally, to give up the date? To help a business that refused any compromise? To sacrifice my one moment of joy? But here's where it gets strange. The emotional reality. I was 6 weeks out from a wedding that evaporated. That Mario Kart night wasn't petty. It was a pressure valve. It was me choosing laughter over isolation. And I refused to feel guilty for that. The venue's choice. They had options. Refund partially. Negotiate. Work with me. They chose policy over humanity, which is their right. But policies have consequences. And one of those consequences, the secret. Open loop payoff. Remember the key fact I promised? Here it is. I didn't take anything from anyone. That's the secret. This wasn't revenge. It was boundaries. Final verdict. If a venue keeps 100% of your money and demands you give up the date anyway, that's not professionalism. That's greed. And if your response to heartbreak is choosing joy where you can find it, that's not being an asshole. That's surviving. If you've ever been told to be the bigger person when all you were doing was protecting yourself, watch the next video on your screen. Because sometimes the real question isn't, was I the asshole? It's, why do people expect the wounded to suffer quietly?